How often do you meet someone who is different than you? They may have different skills than you, look differently than you, or enjoy doing different hobbies than you. I hope everyone answered yes to this question. It's important to understand that despite our differences, it's important to create an environment that is inclusive for everyone, whether that be in your personal life or professional life. Hi, my name is Trista Anderson, and today I hope to teach you all a few things about how you, as a nurse, can develop successful colleagues who utilize their strengths for the betterment of the work environment. My presentation is entitled The Animal School, which some of you may not be familiar with, so I will give you a quick overview before we get into the presentation, as I will refer back to the Animal School several times throughout the duration of the presentation. The Animal School is a reflection of how we view and teach children in the current education system. However, it can easily be related back to everyday life, especially in professional settings. In the reflection, an animal school is developed in which a curriculum consists of running, climbing, flying, and swimming classes. Just like in school, the animals studied in each class regardless of how they performed. Obviously, the duck thrived in swimming class but didn't thrive in climbing, so the duck was required to quit swimming so he could practice climbing. Over time, the duck became an average swimmer and climber. The bald eagle beat everyone to the top in climbing class, but he had his own way of getting there. However, his teachers considered this cheating, so he always had to stay after class, which took away from his favorite hobby, which was soaring. The bear flunked because he was lazy, especially in the winter. He thrived in summer, but school wasn't in session then. The zebra didn't want to go to school because the ponies made fun of his stripes, which made him sad. The kangaroo was top of his running class, but he was told to run on all four legs like everyone else, so he fell behind and became discouraged. These are just a few examples shared in the reflection of the animal school. I'm sure you can see how the curriculum was set up for the animals to fail, causing them to be average at a lot of things instead of excellent at one thing. This also led to the animals being discouraged, sad, and unable to participate in their hobbies. I want to take a minute to hit on some key takeaways from the animal school. I believe there is something to be taken away from the reference of the animal school, especially when it comes to finding a way to recognize strengths and weaknesses in others. This could ring true for your personal life and professional life, but for the purposes of this presentation, we are going to focus on recognizing strengths and weaknesses in those who surround you in your professional life. Take a second to think of those you work with. You can probably think of someone who is a kangaroo, a duck, or a zebra. Think of what their strengths bring to your work environment and how it would be if their strengths were taken away from them, so they could only be average at everything. Instead, wouldn't it be more beneficial to be okay with everyone having different strengths to bring to the table? Isn't that the whole point of working together as a team? As we make our way through the presentation, I want you to think about the animal school and how it relates to our careers as nurses, nurse leaders, nurse scholars, etc. At the end, we will circle back to this. So your role as a scholar. Hart and Bell define a scholar as an individual who has advanced education, attends school, or is a learned person. Scholars have crucial skills such as being a critical thinker and problem solver. APNs, advanced practice nurses, do qualify as scholars because of their additional knowledge and expertise in a clinical or functional area that is essential to their role. I realize that not everyone listening to this presentation may be an advanced practice nurse, and I encourage you to keep listening because you will still be able to take something away. I want to share a quote from Huff that stuck out to me. You should consider making an impact on the scholarly conversation of your field from the very beginning of your career. All this to say, I hope that those of you that may not be a nursing scholar or consider yourself one have aspirations to become one. Hart and Bell describe a scholar as someone who displays integrity, honesty, creativity, and passion while participating in scholarly activities. It is important that scholars collaborate with professional colleagues within and outside their discipline to share and receive important knowledge for the betterment of the nursing profession. As I previously mentioned, you should consider having a scholarly impact on your profession from the very beginning of your career. And for those of you who are interested in becoming a scholar, you might be wondering how you do that, so I wanted to briefly touch on that. Becoming a scholar will not occur overnight and takes time. However, the first step you can take is to set goals for your professional development. Do you have goals for your career? For example, do you want to become a nurse practitioner or a nurse anesthesiologist? Your goals should include advancing your education and/or certificates, getting involved in organizations such as professional or civic organizations, sharing your knowledge by conducting presentations at local, state, national, and international conferences, or publishing in a peer-reviewed source. Nurses can have a scholarly reputation in all aspects of nursing, ranging from academics to bedside. Building colleague engagement. Nurse leaders should feel passionate about building colleague engagement and team building to accomplish group goals. It is important to create a supportive and collaborative environment where ideas can be shared freely and concerns are addressed constructively. When focusing on a goal, it is vital that nurse leaders ensure that colleagues are aware of these goals and understand what their role can be in achieving the goals. Employee engagement is a product of autonomy, empowerment, job satisfaction, and commitment to the organization. According to Hart & Bell, organizations that promote employee engagement have more satisfied employees. As a nurse leader, effective communication is the foundation of a high-functioning team, especially when it comes to assigning roles for team members. Effective teams are comprised of individuals who can assume roles where they can have the greatest contribution. Think back to the animal school reference. As a leader, you want to know your team members' strengths and put them in a position to thrive personally so you can watch your team thrive. Just think, would you want a zebra in charge of a swimming committee or a duck? Emotions play a pivotal role in team building, so it is vital that nurse leaders are competent in emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize one's emotions, the emotions of others, and how emotions influence interpersonal communication. Employees who feel understood, respected, and valued are more engaged, allowing them to be more successful within their roles. A leader must recognize that emotions affect team dynamics and understand the genuine importance of understanding emotions of the team members. I wanted to briefly discuss conflict, as it is an unfortunate inevitable part of the leadership journey. Conflict is defined as a process involving two or more individuals where one perceives opposition from one another. As a leader, we are responsible for not only managing conflict between ourselves and others, but also with others between others. Conflict that is not addressed does not go away. Instead, it only becomes a larger conflict. Ensure you have a full understanding of the conflict and are willing to participate in active listening while addressing conflict with team members. To truly solve conflict, you must identify the root cause of the conflict to ensure that conflict does not arise because of the root cause again. Although conflict is inevitable, you do want to minimize conflict as much as possible. Dealing with conflict fairly and effectively can help you gain the respect of your nursing staff and grow as a leader. Conflict resolution in nursing leadership identifies underlying issues and creates better solutions. By listening and collaborating, you can resolve conflicts constructively to maintain a positive work environment. Setting team members up for success. Unlike the animals in the animal school where we want to set our team members up for success, we are going to discuss several ways that this can be done as a leader, including identifying strengths and weaknesses, building on strengths, and ensuring appropriate roles. We discussed the importance of ensuring that team members are in roles that set them up for success, but also assist in helping your team thrive. To be able to do this, a leader must be able to identify the strengths and weaknesses that are possessed by team members. First, I think it's important as a leader to address your own strengths and weaknesses. A leader must be self-aware of their own strengths and weaknesses, along with their own preferences and values. An example of a resource that can help you identify your strengths is the Strength Finders tool. If you are anything like me, you have a more difficult time pointing out strengths than your weaknesses. Now, when it comes to identifying the strengths and weaknesses of team members, there are several steps that you can take as a leader. Observe and listen to team members. What do they do confidently, and what do they seem more timid to do? What do they enjoy doing? You can learn a lot about someone just from having a conversation with them. Ask them open-ended questions like, what do you enjoy doing? This encourages team members to reflect on their own performance and potential, allowing you to gain insight on strengths and weaknesses you may otherwise miss out on. Utilizing feedback tools is a great way to identify strengths and weaknesses from a team member. Just recently, I completed my yearly review with the organization I am employed. This year, they launched a new feedback tool where staff are reviewed by several peers on the unit, a leader on the unit, and by themselves as well. This feedback tool not only helped me identify strengths and weaknesses that I have myself, but also gave insight to my leader on what my strengths and weaknesses may be. They gained this insight not only for myself, but for all my team members as well. As a nurse leader, it is your responsibility to focus on building on the strengths of your team members and not defining them by their weaknesses. As a leader, you should seek out learning opportunities for staff members and provide them with opportunities to further grow on their strengths. Ensure that staff are recognized for their strengths as a way to thank them for the work they do. At the organization I am employed, we have a place on our internal webpage where staff can nominate other team members for an Extraordinary Every Time Award. All nominations can be viewed by all team members. Nominations can be as simple as "thank you for helping me last night" to "this nurse had a difficult patient last night and still managed to give exceptional care to all our patients while staying attentive to tasks that needed to be completed." We also have a designated spot on our unit for patients and families to give a shout out to staff if they feel they have received exceptional care. These are just two simple examples of easy ways that staff can be recognized on behalf of their strengths. Along with recognition, feedback is another important aspect of building on the strengths of team members. Feedback can help team members further develop their strengths and also apply their strengths more effectively within their role. You can lead by example by showing team members that you are aware of your own strengths and how to use them to the advantage of yourself and your team. Be transparent with team members about how you participate in activities that allow you to build on the strengths you already possess. If we think back to the animal school reference again, we can remember how each animal had a strength, but the strength was not emphasized at school, but instead was taken away. As a leader, it should be important for you to ensure that the strengths of your team members are not hindered, but instead maximized to the best of your ability. Each team member will bring different strengths to the table, and it is important to know what they are so they can be appropriately assigned to roles within your team. It is a leader's job to delegate tasks to individuals who will excel at them. For example, if you needed a team member to help develop a unit policy and another team member to lead a team responsible for decorating the unit for a holiday, which task would you delegate to an introvert who excels in writing and the other task to an extrovert who thrives in a creative environment? So obviously, unit policy would be more fit for an introvert, and decorating would be more fit for the extrovert. Not only would this allow you to get the best results out of each task, but you would also have team members who are happy and thriving in their roles. This will increase retention rates, which in return saves your organization money because training new staff is expensive. The animals in the animal school reference were not allowed to participate in the activities they enjoyed, most because the school was so focused on their weaknesses instead of their strengths. As a leader, you should ensure that team members are not treated in this way. Before we move on, I want to discuss a scenario that may help ensure you feel comfortable assigning appropriate roles to team members based upon their strengths. So you have a team member on your team who previously was a nurse educator but decided to return to bedside for a change of pace. This team member loves to teach, has an upbeat personality, and pays close attention to detail throughout the entirety of her shift. You have another team member on your team who is passionate about getting the unit together outside of work. This team member loves to chat with everyone in the department and is always eager to help out with planning anything from unit birthday parties to patient discharge celebrations. You are needing a team member to train a new staff member and a team member to help you as you plan events for staff during Nurses Week this year. Which team member do you think would be happiest in which role and would also help the leader have the best outcome for each role? So obviously you would want the nurse educator to train a new staff member, and the team member who's passionate about getting the unit together help with Nurses Week event planning. As a leader, it is inevitable that difficult conversations will be had throughout your career. When a new staff member is hired, you only get a small glimpse into their strengths and weaknesses, if any glimpse at all. When hiring a newly licensed nurse, it might be even more difficult to gain insight into strengths and weaknesses because of their inexperience within the profession. This means it is always possible that a team member is not a good fit for your department. Before making the decision that someone may not be a good fit for your department, it is important to have conversations including feedback from you about the team member's performance, areas where improvement might be needed, along with areas where the team member is excelling. During this time, it is important to get feedback from the team member as well. Are they feeling supported? Do they feel they have a mentor who they get along with? Do they like the department? They might be feeling that the department is not for them, but too nervous to make that statement. After listening to the team member and making adjustments as necessary, and still feeling as if the team member is not fitting into the department, it is appropriate to make recommendations for other departments that might be suitable for the team member based upon the team member's strengths. As I mentioned, recommending change for a team member could be needed, and although conversations such as recommending change can be difficult, it is possible. Recommending change for a team member should not be taken lightly, and as a leader, you should prepare thoroughly before having a conversation with a team member. Assess the team member's strengths and find a department where the team member might be a better fit. You should show appreciation for the work that the team member does in the department and emphasize the strengths you have noticed and why you think the team member could utilize the strengths even further on this department. Ensure to also emphasize on growth and also ask the team member what their thoughts are in regards to the situation. Lastly, you should offer support to the team member and offer to connect the team member with someone from the department to ensure that the team member is set up for success moving forward. So next I want to discuss a few scenarios on why a team member might not be fit for a job in the ICU or ED, and based upon the team member's strengths, identify what department might be a better fit. So let's say you are the director in an emergency department, and a team member has decided that they don't feel equipped to work in the department. They feel they might be better off working in another department, but you are sad about this, but ultimately want to find the team member a better fit that will mean better job satisfaction for the team member. So I'm going to list these strengths, and then we can decide if we think they would be fit for another department within the organization. So this team member pays attention to detail, they're empathetic, they're compassionate, and they enjoy EKG interpretation. So based upon these strengths, I think a good suggestion for this team member would be to look into the telemetry unit at the organization. You could reach out to the department director of the telemetry unit to see if a shadowing opportunity could be set up to ensure the team member likes the flow of the unit and set the team member up for success. So the second scenario, a team member in the ICU has had several conversations with the nurse leader and nurse educator on the unit, discussing mistakes that have been made, including medication errors. It seems that the team member still lacks attention to detail while dispensing medications, and although the team member has never harmed a patient, the leaders feel that the nurse might not feel supported on the unit. After several conversations with the team member, the nurse leader has decided to ask the team member if she feels like she enjoys her job working in the ICU. The team member admits that she feels stressed, is not sure that she enjoys her job as much as she had hoped. The leader suggests that she help the team member in finding a department that might satisfy her more. Based on these strengths, what department do you think might be a better fit for this team member? Enjoys working with children, compassionate, teamwork skills, and good assessment skills. Based upon these strengths, a good suggestion for this team member would be to look in transitioning to the pediatric med-surg unit within the organization. The director of the ICU can reach out to the director of the pediatric unit to see if an opportunity is available and set up a shadowing opportunity. I hope you were able to make connections with the animal school reference that I referred to at the beginning of the presentation. If you take anything away from this presentation, I think I would want it to be from this slide. Not everyone will have the same path as we found out from the animal school reference. Having the same curriculum set up for each animal did not work and only caused stress for the animals. The animal school reference also showed us that everyone has their own capabilities in which they will excel, which is why we must identify strengths of our team member and use those strengths to the advantage of the team. We are not intended to all have the same strengths. After all, if we did, how would we have a person for each role that needs to be filled within a department? As we wrap up, I hope that you were able to take something away from this presentation. The animal school reference is something I personally won't be able to forget, as such a simple story has such a big meaning that can really be applied to all aspects of life. I hope because of the reference you could really understand the importance of setting team members up for success. No matter what your role may be within your organization, being a scholar comes with difficult responsibilities, but I also hope you can see the reward it brings as well. Nursing is such a rewarding profession regardless of where your career may take you. And I will take a minute to answer any questions. And these are my references.